Good morning, everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you are listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. It is November the 4th, 2021, and today the topic is humble yourself. Um, First, I want to just give a shout out to Mr. Boomer Smith. I'm going to be looking up some projects of him and whatnot, checking up on like I guess episode of GSL and all that. And so I mean, obviously, I have to think about him every time I start this show because that intro that you all see in the beginning of the live videos are, it's something that he made and everything, and they always kind of just uplift me a bit. I'll be over here just jamming and doing all kinds of stuff behind the scenes while the little thing is playing. Um, yeah, so shout out to Boomer Smith, man. Check him out for all your editing needs. Super excited about all the things that we have coming up, and I just wanted to give that shout out to him because, yeah, man, your girl be over here sleep jamming. And it's funny because, like, sometimes I'll be tired and, still kind of waking up a little bit. But as soon as the little stuff start playing, I'll be like, jamming. So, thank God for Boomer Smith, man. You check him out, boomersmith.com. So, anywho, man, let's get into this. Humble yourself. Woo. Okay, so long story short, one of the first things that came into my mind after my prayer meditation was lofty opinions, that phrase. And but I'll be honest, I was a little bit distracted with everything this morning. I was distracted with the prayer meditation. Afterwards, I ended up being distracted. I ended up thinking about a lot of different stuff. I looked up a lot of different other ideas after I looked up lofty opinions as well. But ultimately, I got led back to lofty opinions, and yeah, so that's pretty much. But it was interesting because as I came back around my little circle or whatnot, um, well, the word, let me see, there was a few words that kept standing out, like honor, and there was something else that kept standing out. Oh, glory. Glory. And then as I looked up glory, then that led me to honor, and then that it just led me back to lofty, and um, eventually, I just heard this like right before I settled on an idea for today. I just kind of heard the phrase "humble yourself," and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, let's go with that then." um, Now that could be for a lot of reasons in a lot of ways. Because to be honest, one of the distractions was this idea of me making children books. Like, so my mentor mentioned it yesterday. I think I might have told y'all on Author Day that I dreamed about it a few days ago. So I'm like, Lord, you want me to start working on children's books? Goodness gracious, because here's the thing. I can have ideas already. Like, I have some ideas that have already been kind of established. Or at least one. I know like one is written, maybe two. Then I have some ideas that are kind of like, just need to be fleshed out. I need to write them or whatever. But I have the ideas. Then I'm like, well, because I have this whole niche now when it comes to GSL and everything, it's like, well, a lot of my content is more towards adult right now, and not, don't get me wrong, like I love kids. I perform for children. I mean, so I get that side of things as well, and I do have some connections to different opportunities with children and whatnot. Um, so maybe God is preparing me for that. Like maybe He's like, hey, get some stuff ready or whatever. And I'm open. I'm open to it because that's the other thing too. Again, with my shout out to Boomer Smith, because again we are working on something that I had planned. Well, I had another goal before the end of this year that I wanted to complete, and we're in the midst of working on it. Even though it's different, again, from what I imagined or what I thought I was going to be doing, because I had like a brand new idea to work on. But since we have this other one in place, I don't know if that's why I'm getting the green light right now to start working on books again. I don't know, y'all, but anyways, I was quite distracted with that because different ideas was coming to my mind, and um, then I started to do a little bit of research into it and all of that. So yeah, but I say all that to say, in spite of all those things that happened, basically your girl came back to this. And then even with this phrase, humble yourself, again, it can have so many different meanings. Like maybe it was telling me this morning to humble myself, right, to this time with God that I have dedicated and whatnot. Like, humble yourself, miracle, and stay on task. Like it could just be that, right? But obviously, this could fit however you feel, however God wants to lead and inspire you through this message on today, with what he shared with me this morning. But yeah, so whatever way it is, y'all, let's get ready to humble ourselves, all right? 2 Corinthians 10:5, it says, we destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God and take every thought captive to obey Christ. Obviously that verse, got me thinking about my, unbeliever friends or just unbelievers in general, and I mean, sometimes I guess when it comes to that, right? I mean, there's plenty of verses that, tells us why they may be where they are, it explains that, okay, the God of this world has blinded them and all these different things, right? So, there are things that are against us in this life, right? And things that are trying to push us away from God and not to focus on him and all those things. However, once you come to the knowledge of God in any capacity, right? If you've been introduced to the Bible, if you've been introduced to, someone else's testimony, like however you come across the gospel message, at some point, right, you will have to humble yourself to get more understanding. You gotta humble yourself to study the word. You gotta humble yourself to take out the time to, read for yourself and all those different things. Dedicate time, prayer, all that type of stuff. It's something that we need to do, or that we would have to do in order to, again, gain more wisdom, knowledge, and understanding about God and everything that he's doing and everything that he has in place and just everything, right? So, however, but if we don't want to humble ourselves, then I guess we'll forever be in the place of being confused and being like, I guess on the opposite end and following the Antichrist spirit, whether you know it or not. And, yeah, I mean, again, so yeah, we have to humble ourselves in this area. I'm gonna keep going. Here we go. James 4:6. It says, but he gives more grace. Therefore, it says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So, yeah, I mean, everybody likes the grace part. Everybody likes it, prefers it, wants it. Oh, yes, the grace part. Anything that doesn't have anything to do with me being accountable for my actions. Anything that, there's no consequences to my actions. Anything that goes along those lines. I think once we realize that there are consequences to our actions, then we want grace, right? We want all the grace. Like, well, Lord, well, those of us that do humble ourselves, we're like, oh, Lord, thank you for the grace, right? But those of us that, I guess, feel as if we need no grace, feel as if we have no sin, feel as if there's nothing wrong, or whatever the case is, we just keep ignoring all the grace. And so, I mean, it says here plainly, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So again, as we humble ourselves before God, we may see a bit more grace and mercy happening throughout our lives and whatnot. So, I mean, I guess hey, I can only say in my little humble life and testimony that's been true for me. But I mean, I'm just gonna keep going because I can't speak on everybody and everybody's situation. And I guess if you're not acknowledging God, right, and if you haven't humbled yourself in this area, then yeah, you probably won't see all the grace and mercy. I mean, actually, every breath, right, and every day is grace and mercy upon us. But for those that don't acknowledge it, then they won't see it until it's too late, I guess. But something to think about. Just something to think about. Now, James 4:10, it says, humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. Again, we another thing that we want and desire. We like being exalted, right? I think, I could say that, many of us, just humans in general, we like to be, the applause is so funny. This makes me think about my son last night. So we were in the living room, and for whatever reason, my husband is teaching him how to toss this little ball inside the house. So anyway, they were playing catch. Just he was on the couch, and it was just like, a light game of catch. And NJ had finally caught the ball because he was like, and my husband was like, "Are you ready?" And he's like, "I'm ready." And then he would not catch it or whatever. And so at one point he finally caught it, and we both kind of cheered for him, and we were like, "Yay!" And clapped, and we were like, good job." And then James like took a bow and said, "Thank you." And that was the cutest thing. I'm telling you. I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, I know for a long time he kept calling me adorable. And it was like the weirdest thing, y'all. Because I'm like, listen, man. First of all, I don't want my husband to look at me as adorable. Okay? And that's a whole nother conversation. And, so I kind of joke about that, but my whole thing was like, oh, so that's why you was calling me adorable, because you saw him in me, right? And so now that he's out, all the adorableness is there. This kid is super adorable. And like I said, I call him annoyingly adorable. But anywho, yeah, so we like to be exalted, basically, is what I'm saying here. We like to be exalted. We like to, get the applause, anything that we do, we want to be able to say, oh, yeah, you did that, X, Y, and Z. But hey, man, if you truly want to be exalted, then hey, humble yourself. Humble yourself before the Lord. 2 Chronicles 7:14, it says, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. Man, okay, so obviously this verse is not anything new to Bible hearers and readers and whatnot. You probably heard this in church. I mean, you probably heard this verse before at some point. To me today, what stood out the most was the requirements, right, for us to to get the forgiveness and the healing, right. These are the things we're supposed to do, right. It says humble yourself first, right, because you have to humble yourself, right, and then it says and pray. So, okay, now we got to talk to God, okay? Then, and seek my face. So it's like, okay, seek him, right? And then we also need to turn, right, from our wicked ways, which is also known as repenting, everything like that. And then it says, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. So, that's what stood out to me the most when I read this morning and wrote it down and everything like that. I say all these things that you see and read and hear that the Bible say, I would say try it, man. Like, just try it and see what happens. Put God to the test. I mean, there's only a few places where the Bible says put him to the test. But I mean, I think, especially if you're in a position where you're like, oh, maybe you're in a position of doubt. Maybe you're in a position of where you are trying to get some understanding, you're seeking and whatnot. And so I would say maybe the first step is to try these things, right? If you've never tried these things before, then try these things and see what happens, Now, I can't say that X, Y, and Z is going to happen when you want it to, and, and all of that. I can't say that, right? Because, I have plenty of testimony and whatnot about, waiting on God and whatnot. However, as you start to do this, I believe that not only is your faith is going to grow, but your patience, all those different things, the fruit of the Spirit, all those different things are going to grow. And so the waiting period, right, it won't be that bad, right, or it won't be that long. You'll realize that, you can do it and you can make it, and it's not that hard of a task. So that's my little challenge for you all today. I hope that you guys go deeper about all of this. Plenty of verses in the Go Deeper section to take a look at and let marinate on your heart, souls, and minds. So let's go on to the Bible verse of today. It is Psalm 19:7. It says, "The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration, the juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Now, y'all already know that today is Thursday, so that means that tomorrow is Friday, and I will be going live with Miss Kimberly Morrow, aka Chosen. She's a bit of a musical artist and just a general artist, and she has this ministry called Chosen Arts. We're going to learn a lot more about that. Yes, going live on the Facebook and YouTube tomorrow at 7 p.m. So be on the lookout for that. And but until then, I guess I will talk to you all tomorrow for the juice, if the Lord's will. Bye-bye.
The Progress Podcast is a faith-based, family-friendly podcast established during quarantine, promoting progress as a pathway to purpose. As I'm growing, you'll grow too, because it is about progression, not perfection.